Hello and welcome to our special coverage on CGTN. I'm Zhongshi, live in Beijing. Today, September 30th, marks China's 12th Martyrs' Day. The day honors the men and women who have sacrificed their lives for the country and carry forward their heroic spirit. This year is also the 80th anniversary of victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. Here in the Chinese capital, President Xi Jinping will lead party and government officials and people's representatives in presenting flower baskets to the martyrs in Tiananmen Square. And now for the very latest, let's check in with CGTN reporter Huang Yue at the Museum of the War of Chinese People's Resistance against Japanese aggression in Beijing. Huang Yue, what more can you tell us about the upcoming commemorations?
Good morning, Zhongshi. In about 15 minutes, a solemn ceremony will take place at the Tiananmen Square in downtown Beijing to honor those who sacrificed their lives for the country. Chinese President Xi Jinping, along with other top leaders of the Communist Party of China and the state, will attend the event. As in previous years, the ceremony will feature the playing of the national anthem, a moment of silence, and offerings by children and representatives across society, all paying tribute to the martyrs who gave their lives for the national independence, prosperity, and people's well-being. Right now, about 1,800 representatives are waiting at the square for the ceremony to begin. Among them, in addition to those who made a special contribution to the country's development, there were also veterans and recipients of national medals and honorary titles, including some who attended the Grand Military Parade earlier on September the 3rd. And the oldest one among them, I was told, is in his 90s. So today is the 12th Martyrs' Day in China, and since its official designation in 2014, Chinese President Xi Jinping has attended the event each year to honor the heroes of the people. And this year's commemoration carries a special significance. As you mentioned, it falls in the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War, underscoring the importance of remembering history and cherishing peace. And the timing is also notable because the Martyrs' Day comes just one day before China's National Day. So as people prepare to celebrate the founding of the People's Republic of China and the achievements over the past 76 years, today serves as a reminder that the peaceful and prosperous life we enjoy now was built on the sacrifice of numerous heroes. So commemorative activities will not just be held at the Tiananmen Square. They're also seen across the nation in different communities and the local memorial sites. For example, I'm now right in front of the Museum of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, which is located on the outskirts of Beijing, right near the Lugo Bridge, also known as the Marco Polo Bridge. You know, back in July the 7th, 1937, Japanese invaders attacked Chinese forces at the bridge, a pivotal event recognized as the start of the Japan's full-scale invasion of China and China's whole nation resistance against Japanese invaders. So this morning, I've seen many people coming to this museum, although there's no specific activities organized for those people. Many of them are children. Many parents bring their children here because they believe today is an important moment for the next generation to learn more about history and to pay tribute and show respect to the martyrs. Back to you, Zhongshi.
A solemn occasion and a great educational opportunity. CGTN reporter Huang Yue, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you. China has a long tradition of honoring those who lost their lives in the country's service. But Martyrs' Day commemorations only began in 2014. Let's now take a closer look at the significance of this occasion.
In August 2014, China's top legislature approved the September the 30th as Martyrs' Day across the nation. It's a special day dedicated to the Chinese people who have made the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good of the Chinese nation. It's also aimed at publicizing the martyrs' achievements and spirit in cultivating patriotism, collectivism, and socialist moralities so as to consolidate the Chinese nation's cohesiveness. Martyrs' Day, which comes a day before China's National Day on October the 1st, has special significance. It's also the day in 1949 when the foundations were laid for the monument to the people's heroes. a landmark which stands at the heart of Beijing's Tiananmen Square.
And people across China have paid tribute to revolutionary heroes, honoring their enduring spirit. In Shandong's Heze City, more than 500 students gathered at the Martyrs cemetery. They listened to stories of fallen heroes and presented flower baskets. At Sichuan University, students learn about the revolutionary female martyr Jiang Zhuyun, drawing inspiration from her courage and sacrifice. And in Sichuan's Songpan County, young people paid their respects and laid flowers at the Memorial Monument Garden dedicated to the Red Army's Long March. And joining me now in the studio for more discussion is Wang Xinsong, an associate professor at the School of Government at Beijing Normal University. Professor Wang, welcome to our program today. So if you look at the date of the Martyrs' Day, it's set one day before the National Day. So remembrance before celebration. How do you make of the significance of this day?
Right. I think the immediate message is that the founding of the nation, the People's Republic of China, is not possible without the sacrifices made by millions, tens of millions of soldiers and civilians who, demonstrated their resilience and perseverance during the wars against the foreign invaders. And I think it is critically important to memorize their losses and sacrifices as a way of consolidating the Chinese national identity. The Chinese national identity, I think, is such that it is very brave and it is very resilient and it is not afraid of foreign invasion and it is able to fight against and win wars against foreign invasion. But at the same time, I think the Chinese national identity is that we never forget those who have lost their lives for public interests. I think what heroes means is that somebody who is willing to sacrifice one's own interests, even one's life, for public interests. That's a spirit that is very cherishable. I think that's why the Martyrs' Day has been designated in 2014, not only to memorize those who lost lives during the war era, but also during the peaceful time.
Not just the soldiers and troops, but people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the country and our society, obviously. And we know heroes are not only remembered for their extraordinary deeds in history, but also for the spirits and the values that they embody. And President Xi has emphasized that a great era calls for heroes and also nurtures heroes. How does this statement capture the relationship between China's development and the spirit, the spiritual pursuits of the Chinese people?
Right. So just now I was talking a lot about the war period heroes, but nowadays obviously we're not facing immediate threat in any sense, but nonetheless, we are seeing heroes, martyrs emerging almost every day in all kinds of situations. Those people, the soldiers who are still safeguarding our national borders, policemen and firemen who are still working really hard and sometimes in very dangerous situations for protecting our social security and public security. But even doctors and nurses who demonstrated their greatest spirit during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, right? So on and so forth. So in other words, the spirit of the old time, the war period, has been well carried forward in a peaceful time. Let me give you an example. I remember during the military parade that took place on the 3rd of September, I saw this formation led by some of the companies and regiments carrying the wartime titles. For example, one military company is called the Liu Lao Zhuang Company. And this is to memorize the sacrifices by 82 soldiers in 1938 against the Japanese aggression. But the title has been carried over for decades, even nowadays. And this company, according to my knowledge, is still making a lot of contributions in peaceful time in terms of flooding crisis, rescue, and so on and so forth.
Professor Wang, hold that thought. I'll be back with you in just a moment's time. And we know today's commemoration comes 4 weeks after China's 80th anniversary celebration of victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. The Grand Parade on September the 3rd was made up of 45 formations and echelons. Among them was a battle flag formation bearing the names of heroic units from the blood-soaked front lines. They were reminders of the decisive moments that turned the tide of war in China's favor. And China continues to find ways to honor its martyrs. Since January the 1st, new regulations for commending fallen heroes took effect. These safeguard their dignity and honor and protect the rights and interests of their families. They stipulate improved criteria and assessment for identifying martyrs, better financial support, and preferential treatment for their families, and stronger protection and management of memorial facilities. They also strengthen the dissemination of martyrs' heroic deeds and improve protocols for paying homage to them. Let's pick up our conversation with my guest here, Professor Wang Xingsong. I believe you have watched the Grand Military Parade on September the 3rd, and in that commemoration, war veterans were invited to witness that very solemn ceremony. And today, representatives of war veterans are also attending the Martyrs' Day ceremony as the nation remembers. What significance does this arrangement hold to have war veterans be there in person?
I think it is very impressive for some of the war veterans to be able to attend the ceremony today, as well as the ceremony on the 3rd of September, because China hasn't fought a war literally for decades. So the fact that we still have living war veterans who are still able to attend ceremonies speaks a lot about their contribution not only to the country, but also to inspiring today's young people and the general public who hopefully can inherit and carry forward the spirit of the old-time war veterans and heroes to today's contribution to the daily lives and daily work. And I come from Beijing Normal University, and a couple of years ago we had a graduate student who graduated and then went back to work as a village residential committee chair in Guangxi province. And during a summer flooding crisis, and she went back to take care of her fellow villagers and on her way.
Professor Wang, let's together take a look at what's happening in Tiananmen Square now, a solemn day as the country remembers. This is our special program of the Martyrs' Day commemoration right here in the heart of Beijing. China is commemorating Martyrs' Day with a solemn ceremony at Tiananmen Square in the Chinese capital. Leaders and representatives from all walks of life have gathered at the monument to the people's heroes to honor those who lost their lives fighting for freedom and the country's sovereignty. Martyrs' Day remembers these brave fighters to inspire future generations to remember their sacrifices and carry on their heroic spirit. If you're just joining us here on CGTN, you're looking at live pictures coming out of Tiananmen Square in Beijing, where a solemn ceremony is underway to remember the country's fallen heroes. And we now see the monument to the people's heroes, the site of the upcoming tribute ceremony. The Chinese government decided to build the monument in 1949, following the founding of the People's Republic of China. Construction began in 19... You're looking at live pictures coming out of Beijing, the Chinese capital, where commemoration of the country's Martyrs' Day is underway.
Today
marks the Martyrs' Day. Here we gather to pay the highest tribute by holding a solemn ceremony in honor of the people's heroes. The ceremony shall now commence. Sing the national anthem of the People's Republic of China. Now, let us observe a moment of silence for the martyrs who sacrificed their lives for the liberation of the Chinese people and for the founding and development of the People's Republic. The young pioneers will sing "We Are the Heirs of Communism." Present flower baskets in tribute to the people's heroes.
Chinese leaders and other attendees to the event are paying respects to the heroes at the monument to the people's heroes. Also attending are representatives from all walks of life and some members of the Chinese young pioneers. A grand and solemn ceremony there right in the heart of the Chinese capital as the nation remembers. This is our special program on China's Martyrs Day. President Xi Jinping has said heroes should always be remembered and respected, whether they have died on the battlefield or in the line of duty. It's important for China to establish a tradition of honoring its heroes and martyrs. A solemn ceremony there at Tiananmen Square, where representatives from all walks of life are now paying the respects to the heroes at the monument to the people's heroes. The flower baskets, the floral tributes have been presented at the monument to remember the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice for the founding of the nation and the prosperity of the nation. President Xi Jinping has said a nation still needs heroism even in times of peace, and that heroes are the coordinates for the nation's direction. Upholding patriotism is also a key concept of Xi Jinping's thoughts in the new era. He has said on several occasions that patriotism is the force that brings different ethnic groups together. Upholding patriotism and the Chinese nation's solidarity must go hand in hand. If you're just joining us here on CGTN, a solemn ceremony underway in Tiananmen Square as people and representatives from all walks of life continue to pay their respects to the fallen heroes on China's Martyrs Day. Earlier, Chinese President Xi Jinping was joined by other party and government officials in paying their respects, including presenting flower baskets at the monument to the people's heroes. In 2018, China enacted a law to safeguard the dignity of its fallen heroes. The legislation emphasizes that the nation and its people must forever honor and remember those who sacrificed and contributed to the Chinese nation. It prohibits any acts that defame heroes and martyrs or distort and belittle their deeds. Individuals who violate the names images, reputations, or honor of heroes and martyrs will be held legally accountable. Let me continue our discussion with my guest here in the studio, Professor Wang Xinsong. Professor Wang, as you see, another solemn and grand ceremony there in Tiananmen Square to remember the fallen heroes. But I do want to talk to you about Remembrance Today, which is consolidated and reinforced by concrete rules. We actually have regulations in place to make sure that fallen heroes are not only remembered, they're respected and they're valued. What do you make of those regulatory efforts by China to better, commemorate the heroes?
Right. I think the new regulation is sending a very clear message to all. That is, honoring those who have sacrificed their lives and their personal interests for public interests is as important as providing the best quality social welfare and security to those people who are still, living their lives today. So it is important that the fallen heroes and the families and their welfare being well taken care of. At the same time, the cemeteries and other public facilities that honor the fallen heroes need to be well protected and well provided for, because this is sending a message to the public that the Chinese government, the Communist Party of China, are paying the greatest ever respect to those fallen heroes. And as I was watching the ceremony, I had a very strong impression that Chinese leadership really took this as a very important issue. And President Xi Jinping personally cited many national heroes from the ancient and modern and contemporary era in order to show to the public and his personal importance attached to this respect for fallen heroes, but also to inspire the young generation to continue to cherish what we have, but also memorize what other peoples have sacrificed for what we have today.
We talked about the wide spectrum of heroes and who would account as a hero. In peaceful times, they're not soldiers, they're people in their respective fields. So from revolutionary martyrs to role models in science, education, public services, China honors all kinds of heroes. Why are heroes important in the evolution of time?
It is important that at peaceful time, we still need to commemorate the great sacrifices by people. And earlier, talking about a graduate from Beijing Normal University who sacrificed her life. Her name is Huang Wenxiu, and she lost her life on a rescue effort during a flooding crisis in her hometown, Guangxi province. And since then, my university has been commemorating her achievements at the same time as a way of inspiring the current students with us to not only memorize her, but also the spirit that she represented. So that's why I think recognizing and honoring the fallen heroes and martyrs is very important, because it does inspire the young generation, that even if we live in a peaceful life, we can't forget that, you have many people who sacrifice their personal interests in order to safeguarding our national borders, in order to protecting the public security.
And I believe this year, I think we still have a little bit more time. Let me ask you this. This year's Martyrs Day holds a little bit more significance because it coincides with the 80th anniversary in the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. What do you think are some of the most outstanding messages from this special commemoration this year on the 80th anniversary?
Yeah, I think the paying the respect during the ceremony today, as well as the parade on September the 3rd, sending a message to the world that Chinese people cherish the sacrifices made by the soldiers during the war era. But at the same time, sending a message to the world that the Chinese people are a very strong nation with a very brave and resilient national identity, that we're able to defend our country. We're also able to develop our country into great prosperity.
Professor Wang, we're grateful for your time and your analysis. Thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.
And with that, we come to the end of our special program on China's Martyrs Day. We appreciate your company. Thank you so much. Stay with CGTN.